And just like that, the crypto trial of the century, Ripple versus the SEC, it's all over Red Rover. Brad Garlinghouse announcing today that they would be dropping their appeal and they expected the SEC to do so shortly as well. You think about this, a half a decade battle, vicious, action packed, full of drama. It just ends out of nowhere with kind of a whimper. Not much happening. The judge is like, no, I won't accept your settlement. And everyone's like, that's enough. Let's end this thing. And I think they're making the right decision. Yeah, Ripple could have kept their appeal open, seeing if there's an opening here. Maybe a change in rules, regulations might change Judge Torres's mind. They understand, we got to stop fighting with regulators, ongoing court cases. Like, let's just put this to bed and let's turn the page to the new chapter. Let's focus on building, as Brad had said. Let's lock in here and, move on from this situation. And I think he's absolutely correct here. Let's take a look at it. All over Red Rover, I announced today. SEC dropped its appeal on March 19th, I put 2025. That's not true. I guess they just indicated they were willing to. So that should be official here shortly. Ripple will be dropping their cross appeal today. And, some people say, oh, it's not over. Well, yeah, technically, you have to do a little paperwork. Ripple has to, send the money over from the escrow, of course, the $125 million, and the judge will have to sign it off. But it's over. This is the end of it. There's really not much more to discuss. Now, 125 million is a lot of money. I remind you that, you have stuff. Ripple invested 1 billion XRP into Coil, and it ultimately failed. Like 125 million, it's not going to make a bit of difference. It's a drop in the bucket. We would have liked to get that injunction off, but again, it's not going to be a game changer. It will not stop or affect Ripple in any way. If you could easily strip it off, great, but you just want to put this behind you and focus on the good stuff. We saw the other day, judge rejected it. Price of XRP dropped 9 or 10 cents. I think we're right roughly back to where we started. No harm, no foul. You just don't need these headlines. Put it to bed. And, I think you see here, this could open the door for BlackRock and Fidelity to bring an XRP product to market. I believe that. They may have wanted just no ongoing, court case with the SEC before they stepped in. And I think this will lead the way. It's final. They understand the SEC's position that, what we're doing going forward is just fine. They were asking for that injunction to be removed. So I don't think anyone's worried about it. Of course, XRP, the most important thing that's been reiterated time and time again, XRP itself is not a security, and that's really what matters. That was what Gary Gensler wanted so desperately bad. He wanted XRP itself to be a security, and Judge Torres, even though she wouldn't give us this settlement, she gave us what we needed. The most important ruling in crypto history, and I don't think we ever have to discuss this again. I might comment when it's actually technically official and signed off by the judge, but this thing's over. There's nothing left. This should be the last time you hear about Ripple versus the SEC from me, I believe, at least. Let's hope. That's it. That's behind us. Now it's full steam ahead, in my opinion. Now, this was interesting. XRP ETF update. Approval odds. Now, on Polymarkets, it's a betting market, so it's nothing official, but we were at 98.2%. And after the judge ruled that they couldn't settle this, it dropped to 78%. And this is what I would want to remind everyone. Judge Torres isn't deciding if, XRP ETF is approved or not. The SEC is. And they wanted to get rid of that injunction. They're favorable to crypto. They're going to get these things across the finish line. XRP's ETF approval odds should not drop at all based on this. I think that's just more emotional than anything else. It's getting done and likely this year. We see Franklin Templeton, 21 shares, Bitwise. They're still pushing forward. We just saw 3 spot ETFs approved and launched on the Toronto Exchange in Canada. And further, again, now that everything's settled out, now that it's official, I think you'll see BlackRock and Fidelity make their move here and file shortly. This is interesting. We have this kind of discussion over fees going on in the community. Weetie Wind here saying the XRPLab validator will be voting for lowering the account and object ownership reserves for the XRP ledger. They want to take the account reserve from 1 XRP currently. I remember it used to be, I think, 20, I want to say. Maybe been higher than that back in the days, but since I've been around, it was 20 at one point. It's currently 1. They want to drop it to a tenth of that. But they do want to raise transaction fees. Still very low, but a lot more than they've been. And there's some debate over that. I know I saw Vet, who's in favor of kind of the opposite, raising the account reserves and even lowering the transaction fees. Want to see what you think. Personally, myself, this 0.001 XRP fee wouldn't bother me at all. It's like nothing, essentially. But I find account reserves and also having to put up a reserve just to hold the coin. Like if I want to add a coin to my wallet, I got to pay a really high reserve. I find that really irritating. I don't know how many test wallets I have out there that I've probably lost the keys to now that have all sorts of, heavy reserves just for starting the wallet and holding keys and testing stuff. You should be able to hold a coin, let's be honest, at no reserve. It's ridiculous. But I like what Weezy Wind is proposing here. We'll see. That's the point of a decentralized system, and everyone has different motivations, right? You look at First Ledger and their wallet; they want lots of transactions. They don't really care about the account reserves and stuff like that. XRPLab, they'll have different motivations, and everyone will come together in this decentralized way and figure it out. But let me know what you think. Would you want a little bit higher transaction fees, but much lower just to have a wallet? That's kind of counterproductive. We want people being able to easily start wallets and to be able to hold coins like, RLUSD, USDC. Would you like a lower reserve, essentially lower cost to entry there? What's your opinion on this? And still, either way you want to go, XRP Ledger has some of the lowest fees there are. Big move that was announced today. We have Axelar and Squid. They teased a new connector that will send ripples across the world, is what they said. XRP is getting ready to seamlessly be plugged into 70 plus chains: Ethereum, Solana, Cosmos, and more. DeFi, NFTs, stablecoins, cross-chain swaps, one click, unlimited potential. And I also posted this a little more. Squid is a cross-chain router built on Axelar, making one-click swaps and bridges across, again, 70 chains possible here. Axelar provides the secure infrastructure connecting the blockchains. Squid is the interface powering seamless token moves. So again, a big upgrade. And, a lot of this stuff is maybe it's not the highest tech potential forever here, but it works, and it works today. And I think that's why Ripple's making a lot of these moves. They want something that is ready to launch yesterday. They got to get going here. And I think the system will work quite well. This is exciting. Comprehensive U.S. crypto legislation is coming. Senator Tim Scott says stablecoins and market infrastructure bill. That's the one I care about. Both will be finalized by the end of September of this year. We need this. We need to strike while the iron is hot. You don't know what kind of SEC you'll get in 4 years, someone that will try to reverse course and attack crypto. We have to codify this stuff, and it's exciting. I think it's going to happen. Clear rules for stablecoins, exchanges, investor protections. It's all on the way. Exactly what institutions like BlackRock and Fidelity have been waiting for, really to go wild on this space, to use the technology and also to list more assets. And this could really ignite a huge wave of adoption and capital inflows as we close out this year. Let's hope they get that done. Really important. I think this type of product is going to be really popular. Kane Shares files for Coinbase 50 Index ETF. This would track the performance of the 50 largest and most liquid digital assets by market cap, with a few other filters. Of course, it would have to be legal in the US and things like that, not a security probably. But I think we're going to see a lot more stuff like this. And when you think about it, a lot of people are just going to want to bet on the crypto market. Like, I don't want to dig through every coin. Just give me that, because it's probably going to grow faster than any other asset you could buy. You look at like 5 years ago, saw this post. Bitcoin was 9,100, Ethereum was 207, XRP was 21 cents. Solana probably wouldn't have been top 50 coin at that time, but it was 65 cents. Cardano definitely was a top 50 coin at 5 cents. Binance coin, $16.80. If you bought anything, you did well. If you had an index like this that you just bought the broader crypto market, you're beating real estate, S&P 500, and probably most individual stocks. Now, are we going to get that same kind of growth in the next 5 years? Well, we're quite a ways along, maybe not, but it's still going to be massive. And so I think when you see, ETFs here where it's very simple and people can just invest into, major coins, large coins, not micro caps, and just hold something like that, that's going to be really popular. And I think we're going to see stuff like this approved for sure. We're seeing a layer 2 boom right now. I mean, there's a ton of them. You got a whole mess of them on Ethereum. You have the EVM sidechain for XRP Ledger. Of course, Solana even now is rolling their own out. So we're looking at some of the investments in this space for layer 2s: Arbitrum, Optimism, Starknet, That's not one that I have, but when you look at their multiples, one of the ways we sometimes look at the valuation of smart contract blockchains, whether that's a layer one like Ethereum and Solana or a layer two like these ones, we're looking at fees. And we see Arbitrum, it's trading 137 times its fee revenue, Optimism 205 times, Starknet 4,200 times. Tech's promising, of course, but are these valuations sustainable? And are network fees a good way to value these blockchains? In other news, we have Bit Digital, formerly just a Bitcoin mining company. They're pivoting and they're putting $150 million into Ethereum staking and also in their treasury. So you're going to see a lot of these different companies that have, treasury strategies. Started with Bitcoin. We've seen quite a few companies that have pivoted to XRP, where they're going to hold a significant amount of XRP on their balance sheet, probably expand it over time. And here's an example of someone that's going to, base their strategy around Ethereum. I think in the future, they'll have a basket of these global currencies. You have some Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and not just one, but it's interesting to see this continue to grow. Rate cuts. Are they going to be coming? Are they going to come quickly? Traders now see a 20% chance of a July cut, up from 14.5%. So momentum's building here. Fueling this, President Trump hinting of replacing Powell. I don't think that's going to happen, by the way. I don't think he's going to replace anyone. Markets are now pricing in 125 basis point cuts by December 2026. The Fed is forecasting 75 basis points. We'll see how it plays out here. What I would say is we're going to get a successor named, and that'll put some heat on Powell. And if there's any disruption, I bet there's calls even from within the Fed for him to step down. We'll see it play out. President Trump to terminate all trade talks with Canada. He will let Canada know what the tariffs will be when he gets around to it, I guess. Look, that's the stance today. Monday could change. I know when that was initially announced, we saw crypto today kind of go off a cliff, and S&P 500, I heard, it hit all-time high, and then this came out and it dipped a little bit. But it seems like both traditional markets and crypto markets recovered a little bit here, and it was not such a big deal. Again, I wouldn't pay too much attention to this stuff. I'm telling you, Mexico, Canada, U.S., it'll all get worked out. Not worried about it at all. China's a more tricky one, but it seems like we're making productive progress there. So, again, this isn't going to stop us ultimately. You can get some midday kind of news like this that sends markets tumbling a bit, but, I don't think it's going to affect us too much. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.